My name is Pascal Miller. Basically today we're going to be building a deck. So let's get started. So what we have here is a series of boards which have been cut to 13 inches. They've been treated with 2 coats of high quality oil stain, and this stain is basically going to protect the deck and allow us to keep it basically maintenance free for several years. What we're doing right now is we're screwing in these T24 hex screws in, which are outdoor screws. They're coated with this paint, which is basically going to keep it from rusting and corroding for several years, longer than the rest of the deck is probably going to exist. And what I've created here is a jig. It's a spacer jig, and basically it maintains a consistent space between the boards. As you can see, I've already used it to keep a nice even spacing throughout the whole deck. And so basically what I do right here is I put the spacer right in here, make sure that the board's pressed nice and firmly against it, and then I have another little tool I've created right here, which is basically a guide for the spacing of the screws. And so I position this guide, as you can see, right over here, right above this board, and this is going to allow me to very precisely indicate where I'm going to put the screws. And so I then take the screws, I put them right over here, and going down nice and straight. Screws are kind of picky sometimes. A nice firm adherence to the rest of the structure, and that's the board down. So what happened with the old deck, as you can see, is it began to really rot. The thing was there for 20 years, and so we decided to make a new one because, you know, it's a real fun project to do. It introduces a whole set of carpentry skills. You have, you know, the purchasing of different wood, different sizes, different qualities. Because as it turns out, when you buy lumber, a lot of times it's warped, and if it isn't warped, it becomes warped over time as it dries out. So what you end up having is boards that curve up, boards that curve down, boards that go sideways, boards that go the other way, and you have to really make sure that they're anchored down. So there's all sorts of complications, and it's a real great project. So what I have right here is some Rainier, and you know, during construction really it gets stressful. You're working long hours. You have just a tremendous amount of repetition. You really got to relax and just enjoy yourself. And so I found that the best way to do that is to enjoy a fine can of Rainier. And as you can see, it just really alleviates the stress of working and really contributes to a positive working experience. So, you know, periodically I'll just have a cigarette, and for this project I've selected Marlboro Red cigarettes, and I mean, you know, every once in a while I just get so sick and tired of screwing in the same boards that you just really have to make things interesting. So I found that, you know, periodically having a cigarette while working really just kind of makes things a little more interesting. And, you know, the productivity still is maintained. It's just really great to have little things like this. Alright, so as you can see here, we have a really solid setup. We have the board aligned here, and make sure you keep this line really straight, because a lot of times it's actually really difficult to keep this line straight. We have the spacer in here, so we got good spacing. Our guide is in place, so we can keep going with this row of nails here. But, you know, before we get too serious into this, I really want to stress the importance of reading materials. And so what I have over here is a couple selections. The first I'd like to show you is this one right here. These diagrams are really, really useful. Although I've actually noticed with this actual item that it hasn't been as effective as it could be. this one right here is a better selection. It's a little bit more potent. There's better selections, and so these diagrams are really invaluable for the type of work we're doing. When things get kind of monotonous, you have to really mix things up a little bit. And so we got the good spacing, and we got the diagrams, so really ready to move on. So, yeah.